everybody, and welcome to the one and only Superhero Speak. I am your host, Dave.
And John.
Buddy Don here.
And Chris.
All right. Before we do anything, boys and girls, I have an announcement at the top of the show. Our good friend JD is taking a hiatus from the show. That does not mean he has quit. No, he is still a member of this podcast. He's taking time off because he's trying to finish a book. He's in graduate school. He has a family. He teaches and he coaches. So he doesn't have time right now for us. I think he's going to come back once he's done writing the book.
Yeah, he's busy having a real life.
Yes, he's busy having a real life. So in the meantime, filling in for him until he is able to come back, or maybe forever, is D Square will be our third going forward. So welcome, Don, to your full-time torture.
Yeah, indeed. But hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. It'll be entertaining, I'm sure. So it'll be fun. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
But yeah, Katie will be back soon.
I am glad to count you among my friends. I really am. So.
Absolutely.
All right. So how is everyone doing this week? How are you doing, Don? Since are you shocked by this immense burden put on your shoulders now?
No, because I've kind of done a test run here the past couple of weeks anyway. So, hey, it's just, the shoe fits. So I'll lace it up, no problem. But, yeah, I've been having a really great week, particularly this weekend, because had a good tabletop RPG game on Friday. And then Saturday comes along. And I'm supposed to go to this kid's party at a bowling alley, a local bowling alley. I'm like, okay, whatever.
I saw the video. Go ahead.
Yeah, that'll be lame. But lo and behold, I walk in, I look over, and there's X-Men the arcade game just right there. And I'm like, oh, I'm going back to the truck to get $10 worth of quarters and have fun with the kids and the party wife. I grabbed a couple beers, so we didn't get to do that back in the day. So now I can set my beer. Even though it's slanted, it still stayed there. So it was awesome.
If it was any other game, would you do that, or is it just the X-Men?
No, maybe a Turtles. Maybe a Turtles will get me. A Marvel vs. Capcom 2. No, well, yes, but even the one before that, the first one. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or something like that. But that, yeah. And again, this is 10 minutes from my house. I've been here before, so either they just got it or I somehow never looked over that little room and saw it. But it was awesome. And then I played Magic that day later, so it's just been a really great dorky weekend and week. So yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Chris? Anything new with you?
No. Haven't added the X-Men to this arcade here yet, but I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
No, I'm still going through that huge haul of comics that I got, those 5 long boxes. Still sorting through them.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff in there. It's been fun. I don't know. Nothing. Just hanging out. Enjoying the weather.
Right. Cool. And how about you there, my good friend John?
I am looking for bookcases because the amount of... I went through a phase for a while where I got all my books on Kindle, and I'm beginning to realize that I'm missing having the actual books in my hands.
Okay.
So I've started... buying physical books again. And then I realized, I need space for those.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking to rearrange my basement, the finished part of my basement, to put in 2 new bookcases with some room to spare, because apparently that's going to take... But I've forgotten how much I enjoy sitting there with a physical book in my hand,
Yeah.
And the Kindle is nice. And for some stuff, I'll buy both the Kindle and the physical version, so I can sit in bed and read the physical version. But if I'm out on the road or somewhere, or at work and I want to take a break, I can read it on the Kindle easily.
Do you like IKEA bookcases? I mean, I think they're a little pricey for what they are, but
I have a whole bunch of them upstairs. I know you've seen my library before.
Yeah.
The thing I like about the IKEA ones, you can get them so they're double-sided if you've got the room.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I do, so you can use both front and back.
And you can add doors to them too.
Yeah, you get kind of twice the capacity, which is nice.
Yeah, I'll be looking through there. I've gone solder in the past, and then some big office outfits. But actually, IKEA is a good idea. So yeah, no. Beyond that, I just started reading Skeleton Knight. I watched the anime a while back, but I'm on this kick where I like the light novels. I don't really read the manga so much. I'll read the light novels because I like the reading part of it. And some of the authors or some of the translations aren't that great. This one is actually really good. So there's 10 books, so I'll probably be finished by the end of the week with all 10 books for here. Because I consume these like crazy. Other than that, going back to the video arcade stuff, I miss Street Fighter and stuff like Gauntlet, and and the Tron games.
I have Gauntlet on the Mortal Kombat one right here.
Oh, nice! And the Tron game, the ones when you hear them in the back, know exactly what they were. Like with Gauntlet, it's like Elf is about to die.
Yeah,
and then the Tron ones, like you can't mistake the sounds of those. I miss the old arcades. I still go to an arcade up in Connecticut with my nephews every once in a while, and the games are okay, but it's like you get a card now instead of quarters.
Yeah, it doesn't make it as much fun.
And that's to hide the fact that some of the games cost $1 per play. It's ridiculous. So
yeah, and you don't even have like back when we were kids, and you'd have a line of people waiting, and that's what the quarters. You put the quarters on the top to say I'm next. You know,
right.
You don't have that anymore. So,
yeah.
Thrawn Kill here is reminding us the real reason to have a bookshelf. My Lego Dune
Ornithopter
has a need for a new shelf by itself. It's too big. Yes, Legos are the real reason to have bookshelves.
Hey,
or collectibles.
Really good video game for the Sega Genesis. It was Dune: Battle for Arrakis. It was one of the original. I think that was the first real-time strategy game that became Command and Conquer, and then from there, StarCraft.
Okay.
And then Warcraft.
Right, yeah. It's funny thinking that those two games are made by the same company and the same basic idea, just one's in space and one is in medieval time.
Unfortunately, all those game publishers are now owned by either Microsoft or EA, and neither one are doing. Yeah, like they just culled a whole bunch of video game outfits. Like Microsoft just let go of everybody, closed them down. Even ones that had won awards on their last game were working on follow-ups. It's like,
they killed off a bunch of.
I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, and I know she doesn't watch the show, but Aubrey from So Wizard works for. I'm not going to say who she works for, but she works for a company that is owned by Microsoft. But like she was a part of all of that too, like where. The companies all got bought up by Microsoft, and then they kept the properties, but like got rid of a lot of people. So, luckily, she's still working. So she was let go, and then got her job back at one point. So,
why do you assume she doesn't watch?
Oh, because she doesn't even listen to her own podcast.
Okay.
What's that like, John?
I was going to say, woman after my own heart. I mean, like. I totally get that.
All right. What's next? Oh, me. How am I doing?
You can skip it if you want, Dave.
Everyone here knows that I am not in a good place. And basically, JD telling me today that he officially wants to take a break was like the icing on the cake. I'll just say that things are in limbo for me right now, and I'm on my third, so this will be fun.
Right. Let's see how many T'Challa buttons we get today.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun, like a roller coaster where there's a break in the track up ahead.
So I'm kind of thinking there is no social media madness this week. I wanted to try to keep the show a little shorter since we were like almost 3 hours last week.
What?
And I have not been keeping up with social media besides the really personal thing
Good
that I
for
don't
you.
want to talk about on the show that happened to me yesterday. I have I had some stuff that I had to take care of this week financially for myself. I've been working on this is the guys here know too. I am in the middle of moving, so I was working on that this week. So it's just been a really hectic week for me. So I didn't do really any social media stuff. So yeah, no social media madness this week. I'm sorry about that. And I think
I'm not.
the X-Men
Sorry.
97 stuff that I want to talk about. Do you want to do it now or do you want to do the break first? You guys decide.
Let's go to break.
Yeah, break.
Also some
All right.
suspense.
Dave,
Well,
Dave, I need a break.
Well, since we will do Social Media Madness next week, so if you want to be a part of Social Media Madness, here's Don to tell you more.
Enjoying the show? Do you want to be part of Social Media Madness? Well, head on over to superheroespeak.com where you'll find links to all of our social media. You'll also find comic reviews by Chris, some old comic reviews by yours truly, the show itself, lots of good stuff that we're posting on there all the time. So make sure and check that out. And speaking of checking things out, of course, Superhero Speak is part of the Geek World All-Stars podcast network. Great shows like the Pop Prison Power podcast, Colt 45, Fans on Patrol, That's So Wizard, the Gorilla Brain podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Hashtag GW All-Stars, and you will not be disappointed. So make sure that you're going on the X app or whatever social media that you are enjoying. Watch for our post and make sure and interact with it. Have lots and lots of fun. All right. Well, I think I've wasted enough time. I think John has cleaned the whiskey off of his My Little Pony mouse pad. So let's head back to the show.
Oops.
I guess maybe I have to start doing that live.
You need to do a new one where you make fun of yourself.
Oh boy, okay. I can do it all day. I'm my favorite person to make jokes about.
I almost forgot inappropriate joke of the week. I heard this today and I wanted to share it. So just remember that when you sit on a toilet, you're connecting your asshole to a network of other assholes.
True.
Until we meet again. All right. That was one of those
Wasn't social media madness.
That was one of those, like, you ever see the clips where it's Skeletor and he tells a real quick, like, stupid joke
Yeah.
and runs off? That was one of those I saw today, and I'm like, there we go. That's my joke for tonight. So, all right. Anything you guys want to plug before we actually run the ad? No. John, you want to plug Comcast? They're not paying us. Forget. Screw them. All right. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with a bunch of X-Men talk. Sorry. There it is.
Some podcasts are like this.
So I had this debate the other day in the car. So you know Helen Keller. So apparently someone said that she flew a plane.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I'm like,
Well, how does she fly a
No.
plane? How does she fly a plane if she's hiding in the closet? How does Helen Keller? What?
you were... Shut up. Shut up.
She got? Did she? I thought she get. Did she get free and then fly the plane?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
What is happening right
there
now?
was like a live audience and I could ask them, does he even deserve me to continue? Oh my God. I'll give you one more chance. Helen Keller. What is she known for?
She wrote a book in the attic.
That's Anne Frank. Helen Keller's the woman that was blind and deaf. We're cut.
And some podcasts are like this.
DC Talk used to have this song that was like, we're just two honks and a Negro serving the Lord.
What? You lying? Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second.
When you really break it down,
we're just two hunks and a Negro serving the Lord. We're just two hunks and a Negro singing our song.
Bruh. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
But only one podcast is where you can get in-depth analysis like this.
And murder them like they are getting like emulted, like they're being burned the fuck alive.
Yeah, they are literally turning to ash
from the Thanos snap. They're like,
but it was two butt cheeks instead.
Yeah, two butt cheeks of our Lord.
Thanos clapping.
You are now listening to Cult 45.
This is Beat 'em Down.
And I'm Random Randy Savage.
Find us on all your podcatching apps like Podbean or Spotify. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Or just go to www.cult45podcast.com.
Also, check out our YouTube for that sweet, sweet video content.
Cult 45, the only podcast that puts hair on your chest.
All right. We'll get to X-Men in 1 second. First off, Thronkill said, stop describing the show. I assume he's talking about the Asshole Network. And I want to say this, Cult 45, the last two episodes, they did 2 weeks, or not, last week they did Captain America First Avenger. This week they've done the Avengers. Both of them are great episodes. They're hilarious. If you're not listening to Cult 45 on whatever your favorite podcast app is, you should be. These guys are funny. It's one of my favorite shows ever. Go check them out. So we have comments already talking X-Men. Mr. Anti-Idiotic says, I really want Kitty Pryde to be Tom Holland's Spidey's new girlfriend in the MCU. So did that ever happen in the comics? I don't remember that.
That was in the Ultimate Universe for sure.
Okay.
They did it there for sure. I don't remember if they ever did it.
She does have a propensity to date people named Peter, like Piotr, Peter
true.
Quill.
That's right. Oh my God.
It's
her favorite
weird.
name. And again,
She
I
likes
read.
Peters.
I read the first few episodes of Amazing.
Again, small.
Oh my God. Ultimate Spider-Man, and then I did read when they introduced Miles, but like, other than that, I'm not a big Ultimates fan. So
yeah, I don't care for it.
I wasn't even the Ultimate X-Men. I'm like, eh.
Thronkill says I need a Bishop-centric episode. We'll talk about that in a second too, because I think we're definitely going to get them next season. And Bishop is the G of G's from 8-Bit Ray. Hey Ray, how you doing, buddy?
He just needs to get his soul glow back, you know? Just get your soul glow. You don't need a Jerry curl going again. That's what I want.
I
agree.
That's the one thing I don't get. Like, they gave him a more modern haircut, but we're still supposed to be in the 90s. And that still was fashionable in 97 to have the Jerry curl. And it's still the same character. Like, why did they get rid of his long hair? It's just like,
because I think there's two camps on that, and it's the camp of like us who want the Jerry curl, and I think there are people that kind of look at that as like, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, so I just,
it is.
I don't see that way, but you know,
kids have mullets now. I mean,
like mullets are ridiculous. It was ridiculous when they gave it to Superman, but like it worked in the 90s and everyone liked it. So I don't know. Can we get Dan to put on a Jerry curl in his beard? Oh, Don. Can we get a Jerry? Yeah. All right. X-Men 97, guys. Wow. We got a really great finale. Ends on a huge cliffhanger. What did you guys think? Don, you're going to go last because you're the X-Men guy. Chris, what did you think of the finale?
I liked it. I thought it was good. It gave me, for the most part, it gave me a little. I'm not complaining because the show always like ends on a cliffhanger, like even in the 90s. But it gave me the specific trapped in time cliffhanger gave me like the end of Heroes season 1 vibes, which is not a good feeling to have.
Oh,
So-
Right.
But besides that, I don't have any complaints. It was good. It was fun. Tons of plot and just burning right through it. I always like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I wore my Sentinel shirt.
that is
Guys. It's a really old Sentinels t-shirt.
burning through tons of plot. I think was the theme of the season.
Yeah, that show's always been like that, and it's been cool for it. It's better for it, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they going a little too fast though?
Nah.
I mean, like they're going to run out really quickly. Right?
No, they haven't even touched on a bunch of stories yet, and I think the finale hints at a lot of apocalypse stories. So yeah, they're good. What did you think, John? Overall, like overall, just the finale itself, how they ended things.
Well, I mean, I'm a fan of taking time and enjoying the ride. This is like basically, you're in a Aston Martin on the in Europe on one of those roads that has no speed limit on the Autobahn. Yeah,
the Autobahn,
and you're just you're just got your foot to down to the floor, and you're still leaning on it hard. I mean, like. I will admit, I mean, they did it well. I mean, I was entertained and it was interesting, but man, did they just move so quick. I mean, Asteroid M was there and then it's gone. And, some of these plots that I think took like months to tell. And it's literally like 2 minutes, if that, in this show. It's like blink and you miss it as you drive past.
Yeah.
So, and there were a couple of things that, like he is the evolution of the future or whatever that was like, what does it even mean, for crying out loud? Like
it was very
some of the dialogue was a little bit, some of the dialogue was a little bit hokey.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, that was X-Men 97. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it was enjoyable to me. I have, like I said, I'm a DC guy, so take that with a grain of salt if you're a Marvel person.
Right.
It was enjoyable, but I think they could have taken a little bit more time, spread it out a bit.
I kind of think I get what you're saying, but like X-Men animated series has always been that they've, to a point, like they did stretch out the Phoenix Saga to 3 episodes, I believe, and Days of Future Past was a couple episodes as well in the original series. But this is also 2024. People's attentions spans aren't as what they used to be. Plus, we only get 10 episodes a season for anything if we're lucky, especially on streaming. My favorite part of the episode is they did zig when I thought they would zag, where I thought we were going to get Onslaught. But no, we got Magneto coming out and saving the day at the end of the episode. So, like, I really enjoyed that. Like, I wasn't expecting that. And they can still use Onslaught later on because they set it up already. Don, what did you think? Come on.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. And for the reason you kind of just touched on, I was with you. I thought Onslaught was coming. Yeah. I thought Onslaught was coming until 3/4 of the way through this episode, because they were still, you were still seeing where Xavier and Magneto their minds were interlaced, and they could lose them both, and Magneto started to get angry. But I think they're better for it not going there right now. But I like that this show can swerve on me. I like the fact that, I read all this X-Men, but honestly, it's not really helping here as far as seeing exactly what's going to happen. You can see where they maybe borrowed some things from certain story arcs or issues, but really they're not you can't telegraph this story at all. And I love that. I love that. So I'm just going to still keep guessing on, shit that's going to happen. I've got some guesses for, the show happening in the future, but I love that DeMeo and the writers and everybody involved, obviously steeped in the source material, but not just regurgitating it and giving us a whole new X-Men experience to enjoy, at the same time showing everybody there's no superhero fatigue. You just got to put great shit out there and people will come. And it was my X-Men that shows everybody that. So that's what I think. And John, as far as that statement you don't like, that's just a big X-Men deep cut, to be honest with you. For me, as somebody that's read more recent stuff, older stuff, that whole he is the future, I think that's very prophetic, because in the comics it's basically proven that the humans and the machines always meld, and Bastion and Nimrod and shit always happen, and it always becomes them versus the mutants. So at that line's kind of a deep cut, at least the way I see it.
Well, I think a lot of this is deep cuts, because if you don't have like at least a mid-level knowledge of the X-Men comics, a lot of this stuff is really literally, blink and you miss it. It's like they fit it in just enough to be part of the plot, but not enough that somebody like me is going to say, "Oh, that was cool." It's like, I made sense, but why?
I'll admit I was an X-Men fan, but not the biggest X-Men fan. And in fact, I think I really started reading them during the Jim Lee run. But
you and 8 million other people.
Yeah, exactly. I'll admit it.
Oh wait, that's a lot of variant covers.
But like I knew
there's a reason. You could get all of these for less than $10. There's a lot of them out there.
It's the best-selling comic of all time.
I knew that the Magneto ripping the adamantium out of Wolverine's body, and all of that stuff was tied together to Onslaught, and that's why I thought, oh, that's what we're getting in the finale. Like, but other than that, a lot of these stories I am lost on, but I enjoyed the ride. Like, oh, cool. And I do kind of wonder that, but Don, you seem okay with that. Like, diehard fans of the comics, some of them are annoyed that they're like quickly stepping over some of these storylines, and others are like okay with it because I think they're telling the stories better in some cases.
Listen, if you talk to Don back in 2000, 2005, I'd be that guy, right? Yeah. I'd be they're not, I'm now at peace. This is a different universe. As long as they don't make changes that totally ruin it or betray the overall idea of the character, I'm okay with it. Like, I enjoy X-Men First Class the movie, and that has like nothing to do with the comics almost. But X3, it makes no sense for them to not link Juggernaut with Xavier or make him a mutant. It makes no sense. So that's the sort of shit that I'm going to rage about.
Let's not talk about that movie. That is the worst of all the X-Men movies.
There's such a body count in that movie. Why do they kill so many characters? It's crazy. Anyway, sorry.
Isn't that's also the one where like they gave characters different powers, right? Like than they have in the comics. There a couple of them they switched around, and it was like, why are you doing this?
They always do that.
I actually saw something not long ago where was it Bryan Singer who did those movies, right? Or at least the first couple.
He did the
first two, and he even said like he didn't care about the comics. He just thought the concept was cool and wanted to make something. And it's like, oh great, here's the guy we want making our movie.
They do that
a lot. Superman movie.
But the 3 minutes of the Phoenix that we got in this final episode was way better than the entire X3 movie.
Oh yeah.
I'll give you that.
Like this episode itself deals with so many different things. You deal with the relationship between Cable and Jean and Cyclops, all within 5 minutes, right? Like the complicated relationship of father and son and not growing up with a father and all this crazy stuff. You deal with the relationship between Magneto and Xavier and their two views on how to handle the mutant human relations problems. You deal with Bastion's crazy relationship with his mother and humanity. It's like there's so much going on in a 30-minute cartoon that you don't have time to breathe when you're watching it, but it's like it's so brilliantly written.
It reminds me of the Claremont X-Men, like Orzechowski used to letter those smaller because he had to fit all of Chris Claremont's text in those fucking pages. Because he wrote so much, and like he would cram so much in there. So
I definitely feel like that was an inspiration
vibe
for these shows. Yeah, Chris Claremont is all over this concept. It's crazy. Is there anything you didn't like about the episode, Don? I'm going to ask you first.
Anything I didn't like about the episode? No, there just wasn't. I mean, okay, you know what? I'll put this in here. I guess I can shoehorn this in here. What I didn't like about this episode was that when it showed Black Panther, they had Steve Rogers call him King T'Chaka. Black Panther, the T'Challa version, was in X-Men, the animated series.
Yeah,
so I don't know what the
too.
fuck they're doing here. And it actually took me to my fourth viewing to catch that. And I didn't even realize it until people started complaining about it online. I thought it was T'Challa. I guess I just heard what I wanted to hear the first 3 times. But so that, coupled with the fact that the world is ending and you've got Steve Rogers and Iron Man just fucking sitting there next to the president like lapdogs.
I will get back to the
or Doctor Strange, or like all of them were all just doing all these.
At least
other
Doctor
things.
Strange was doing some surgery or some shit. But
I'll get back to the T'Challa versus T'Chaka argument in a second, but it also makes the Doctor Strange thing weird in a way. How about you, Chris? Is there anything like about the episode that was just like that doesn't work for me?
No, I don't have any complaints. It's just it's just a ride. I don't know. Get on and have fun. Enjoy yourself.
Yep. I agree 100% with that.
I was surprised that Cloak and Dagger showed up. Like,
there were so many cameos.
I know, but like those are like. I mean, I know that they had a live action series a while back, but like Cloak and Dagger are not very well known, and like actually, I kind of like them, and I see them show up all out of the blue is pretty cool.
Did anyone catch
it's kind of a 90s callback, I guess. That's probably when they were at their peak.
Did anyone catch the best cameo, which is an Easter egg, which was, to me, one of the best things in this episode?
Howard the Duck?
Mm-mm.
What?
Peter and Mary Jane looking at the TV in the TV shop or electronics shop. Anyone who watched Spider-Man the Animated Series at the same time, the storyline in there was Mary Jane at the end was a clone, and he had gone on a wild adventure to find the real Mary Jane. So technically, they're saying, here they are together. He found the real Mary Jane at the end.
Yeah, that would appeal to you. You fucking
I
hopeless.
knew. That's exactly what I said when I saw it. I'm like, oh, Dave's going to love that.
Well, come on. That was a big cliffhanger because that's how the show ended.
Yeah.
Was him going to look for Mary Jane, and then boom, they were canceled. And it was like, what? We're never going to find out what happens? So
yeah, that's crazy that they did that in this series.
Well, they might get another season now. Who knows? Anything's possible.
There is rumors that they might launch some of those other cartoons. Look at Iron Man in this episode. He's got that like 90s style
a lot
armor.
of them looked. T'Chaka was had the cape on and everything like
with the high collar.
Yeah, like they looked much like they're much older versions. Like, well, I guess like they're 90s versions. I
Exactly.
guess.
It's 97. People have to keep that in mind. It's funny. People complain about, we talked about this before on the show, Gambit wearing the half pink shirt, but that was the 90s. Like,
by the way, there was one, I forgot to mention this last week. There was one comment. You guys are like this. Like in the X-Men movies, somebody said something to Wolverine while they were in the live action version. Someone said something, Wolverine said something about, why do I have to wear this? And it's like, oh, what would you rather have? Yellow spandex? But in like the last episode before this, they looked at it, so what would you rather wear? Black leather? So I guess they're taking pot shots at each other now, or themselves.
Well, that was a shot at Bryan Singer, but it's funny because people have pointed this out, like not necessarily spandex, but Lycra or something that's movable makes more sense than black leather because leather really isn't as movable as any other material.
Especially if you have a healing factor, so it's not like it matters how tough the clothing is.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I thought it was a great, and then the episode ends with a huge cliffhanger. Half of them are sent into the distant past, half of them are sent into the far future. By the way, the DeMaio has said that, so we only see Jean and Scott in the future, but he has said that, what was it, Wolverine, and who are the other, and Morph, and there's one more that we don't see. Storm. They're with them in the future. So those 5 are in the future, and the rest are in the past. At where Apocalypse,
it was Apocalypse,
becomes Apocalypse, basically. So
Apoca in his lips. Yep.
You know, it's interesting. I'm going to see something here real quick. So Sinister just became old and decrepit, but
got to slink away.
Slink away. Yeah.
One of Sinister's clones did that.
Yeah,
was he? Do you think that was just a clone? That wasn't actually Sinister?
It's never Sinister.
He's like Doombots. It's never him.
This is true in the comics. It is never him.
So you're saying the Phoenix Force, the force of all life the universe will ever have, couldn't tell that was a clone?
Right.
You never do.
That's Cyclops. What is that in reference to, Mr. Anti-Idiotic?
That was probably the comment about the black leather or the
okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember. They didn't really do Age of Apocalypse in the original series, so you think that's where they're going?
A little
bit. They sort of did, yeah.
So they didn't call it Age of Apocalypse, but they did. Yeah, they did touch on it.
So they should recognize him then, right?
Sinister?
No,
Apocalypse.
The X-Men should recognize. Yeah, I mean that is why Beast goes.
They do.
My.
Yeah. They fully know. Yeah.
They know exactly what's going on there. Yeah,
that's just like running up, like, or Hitler's getting bullied and you save him and you're like, oh, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm Hitler, and you're like, oh shit.
Whoops.
Do I shoot this fucker right now, or what do I do?
No, you ask to see his paintings and critique them. Tell them how wonderful they is and how he should continue doing that.
Never give up on painting.
Only
on painting. Never give up on that.
Yep.
It's also the only episode we got an after credit scene this season, which, again, Apocalypse, and he's digging through the dirt, and what does he find? Gambit's Ace of Hearts, is it, or Queen of Hearts?
I think it was Queen of Hearts.
Queen of Hearts, yeah. And that has led to the speculation that he is going to resurrect Gambit and make him one of the four horsemen, the horseman of death.
Horseman of death.
Well, he was always the horseman of death, so that would make sense.
So, I don't know. I think the next season is going to be interesting. I've been trying to wrap my head around what could they be doing with sending half of them in the past and half of them in the future, and any speculation on who did that? Was that Apocalypse that did that, or was that something else? What do you guys think?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm really having a hard time, and the only answer that I've been able to come up with since, we're talking about going into Secret Wars was it was something the Beyonder did.
Oh.
But it doesn't make total sense. Like, if he zapped him to another planet or whatever, then that would make the most sense. But the fact that he put half of them 3,000 years into the future to deal with Apocalypse, the other half in the past to deal with the past Apocalypse, it does seem Apocalypse centric, though.
Right.
Definitely.
But Beyonder was the best answer I could come up with.
Right, and I'm sure John has no idea because he's not a Marvel guy.
I know who the Beyonder is.
Right, but it's weird because a lot of people are saying Apocalypse. A lot of people are saying Apocalypse did it, but I'm like, why did he do it? Unless it ties into making sure he becomes Apocalypse and gains power or whatever. They kept showing him all season in the intro, taking the cube from Gambit. So it's like, I kept waiting for something with Apocalypse all season, and then we just get him at the end of this one. So they're definitely setting something up with him. It's Rachel Summers. Oh, that's an interesting one. Wasn't
that
it
main Ashanti or whatever
Yeah,
that group
that
is?
was
Yeah.
That is Rachel Summers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be, yes.
So
unless, they go away from that, but yeah. Could be.
I don't think they're going to go away from that, because didn't they show her in that no, that's in the original series, I think. They show the future and everything's terrible and mutants are working for humans and she's fixing the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah.
They set up that Cable has tried to stop Bastion 200 times at this point. So
that reminds me, that's the question I have. And I'm still confused on this. Are we supposed to believe that because Cable now helped his family, helped the X-Men, they finally defeated Bastion and that future that he created is gone? Like, I'm confused on the ending of this episode, actually.
No, it's just a completely different bad future now. It's the X-Men.
Yeah.
It's always a bad future.
It can always be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is in the comics. It always comes back. Someone brings Nimrod online, brings a Master Mold online, another group Orchis forms. Like it always comes full circle. So did they defeat Bastion? Sure. Even metaphorically, right? Because they didn't destroy him. They actually extended their hand and said, "Hey, why don't you come be with us?" Which he thought was laughable.
Well, wait.
It is, but.
What happened to Bastion at the end? I can't
He
remember.
got sucked into the black hole that was created by the U.S. government, taking out the gravity engine in Asteroid M.
Okay, so...
And Magneto had to save them from themselves.
Right.
So
think about that. I love this
right,
show.
but then it's like, okay, but then could he come back from that? I don't know.
I see it as an Ultron thing if they want him to. Absolutely, it's easily writable. That he survived. Absolutely.
There's another continuity problem. It's like if Iron Man is sitting there when they're making a decision of whether or not to hit this gravity engine thing, Tony Stark is not going to just sit there and shut up. He's going to tell them, "No, you guys are idiots. Don't freaking do that." I'll tell you. Would you like to know the physics of why you shouldn't do that?
Okay,
because he sold it to him, John.
The only way to defend what happens in this episode with the Avengers is that, well, it's an X-Men story, right? So they have to tell it from that perspective, where you never hear them talk in the episode either. You don't know what Iron Man and Captain America said to the president about launching those nukes, but yeah, it's hard to believe that they would be like, "Oh yeah, just destroy it." Like you would think they themselves, the Avengers, would go up and figure out what was going on first.
Well, Captain America did say something to him. He told him it was a bad idea, and then the president just said, "Sure, let's do it."
Right, but I think, that's one of the things that bothers me with the contingency plan in this show from the government's perspective is, in the comics, the Avengers would go up themselves and figure out what's going on first before they said, "Oh, there's nothing we can do, nuke it." That really bothered me, but I'll let it go because I'm an Avengers guy and Don's an X-Men guy. Iron Man is a dumbass then. In this case, I can't disagree with you, but...
And that's why I've always been, I guess, when it's X-Men versus Avengers, again, visually, the X-Men just always pop for me, so that's what really got me in.
Yeah.
But as I got older, though, I was really just like, boy, the Avengers are just like the government's lapdogs. I couldn't ever get down with that.
When
I was a kid, the Avengers were so dorky. Nobody liked the Avengers. Like if you didn't like the X-Men, you liked another company. Like nobody.
You like you like the Hulk. I guess I can remember people loving the Hulk always.
But like,
are you talking about now, Chris? I'm curious. Are you talking about the Avengers together, or just any of the characters in the Avengers?
I mean, Avengers together. I mean, it was usually like a B-list team in the '90s anyway. They didn't do a very good job keeping, Iron Man, Thor, and.
I'm dying because you said when I was a kid, and then you said the '90s. Ow! I'm thinking of the '70s and '80s.
I was a kid in the '80s, as well. I was born in '79, so
okay.
I'm just thinking of peak comic book culture is like those early '90s before the crash and like the mids, and that was all brought on by there's a lot of X-Men stuff.
I always think of like the Nomad time in the 70s and 80s where it's like Cap was like, what you guys are doing is wrong, talking to the government. It's like, I give up the mantle of Captain America. Iron Man wasn't in the Avengers for a while either because of that stuff. But you're right, like, I think that's because everyone hated,
They do it all the time. They do it with the Justice League too. It'll be like Nightwing's running the Justice League. It's like, well, who cares? You know what I mean? I don't know. Not that I dislike that character, but it's just just weird. Oh, by the way, I got in that box of comics. One of them is the Captain America 305, whatever it is, the first appearance of John Walker.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
As soon as you said 300s, I'm like, ooh, you're talking John Walker.
Yeah, so that was fun. that was good to find the U.S. agent.
Yes. Oh, I love. They're like. The bulk of my Captain America collection is actually that period when all that stuff happens. Yeah. And then he goes crazy.
Yeah, Streets of Poison, all that stuff.
Oh, my God.
All that Grunwald
Some of the
stuff.
best stories. Yeah.
There's like a huge run of that in there. That's fun.
Yeah. If you're watching this and you have not read those books, go read them. Especially if you hate the government. All right.
Go on your Marvel app.
I mean, it's so funny because, like, all of that stuff was born from going back to Vietnam and hatred for our government and what we were doing at that time. And then it kept building and building and like it spilled into the comics and it was some great storytelling at that time. So, yeah.
Dave, you seemed like you were going to move on. So before you do, I just wanted to mention a couple things about the X-Men 97 last episode. So one big thing is that Bishop called Forge Daniel in this episode.
Thank you for remembering that. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So that was always in the plans for his name to be Daniel Lone Eagle by Chris Claremont, but he never got introduced that actual name into the comics.
He was always just called Forge.
Just Forge. So that is cool to see them like canonize that. Well, I don't know if canonize is the right word, but anyway, acknowledge, that name. And I think X-Force is coming. So that board that Forge had with like and it kept showing Colossus like in 3 shots, like, oh, Colossus is still out there. Kitty Pryde, Iceman, Havoc. That's got me excited that they're going to form a new team. And I'm hoping it's X-Force, actually. That'd be awesome.
That would actually make a lot of sense. That in the current time, it's not the X-Men, it's X-Force or some variant. I mean, how many teams do we have besides X-Force?
X-Factor,
right?
New Mutants.
X-Factor was just the original X-Men.
It was, but they turned it into originally, but then it became like the government X-Men, which is why I hate them.
Yeah.
And then, but then in Krakoa, it was like their murder investigation team. That's actually pretty cool.
That was good.
Yeah, Excalibur. I don't know if you count that as an X-Men group, but it has a lot of X-Men in it.
Yeah,
so
no one's ever heard of that one.
One of the things that's said at the end of the episode, and I think it's setting up season 2, is I can't think of the character's name. He's one of the heads of the people that hate mutants.
Oh, Great and Creed. Yeah, that's Sabretooth's father. I can't remember.
Who's running for president? He's ahead in the poll. Yeah, so I think he's going to be president in the next season, and that's going to set up a lot of interesting stories. And I'm trying to think who would be the best team besides the X-Men, like X-Force, X-Factor, out of those crazy teams. Who's the most like underground one that you think of?
That would be X-Force, because that's like the assassination team. Yeah. That was because, I mean, there was X-Force, which the New Mutants became X-Force and Cable's team, and there's that. But the X-Force that I really like, and where they borrow this Bastion from, I think, heavily, is the X-Force run during Astonishing X-Men. That's called Ghosts or Demons or some shit. But anyway, yeah, like Cyclops calls up Wolverine. Go ahead.
And they did New Mutants on the original series as well.
Yeah. Well, there was the New Mutants with Magneto, and then it went into with Cable, and Liefeld took it over and turned it into X-Force.
No, but I meant in the animated series. I'm pretty sure that team, the other mutant team that was on that show, was the New Mutants. So it was like in one.
Yeah, you've seen the New Mutant. Yeah, you've seen the New Mutants. New Mutants and X-Factor are the two big ones.
Right. Are you talking about the Rick Remender, the X-Force, where they're like got like they're like an assassin team like that?
Yeah, it's like Wolverine, Wolfsbane, John Proudstar. It's like all the tracking type people. And Cyclops is like, yeah, we're the X-Men, so we can't do that stuff. But Wolverine, if you could just please assemble a team to kill these motherfuckers here.
What is
I like that strategy.
Okay, I'm having a mental block. Who's the team that he's on, Wolverine, in the comics that's like a dark ops force?
Alpha Flight?
Alpha Flight, that's it.
Yeah. I would say the only other than X-Force would be Alpha Flight,
Yeah. But they're not going to do that. Yeah, they'll do X-Force. It's going to be John, you've been quiet because you have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, yeah. Also, I think we've beaten this to. We've got.
John, I do an hour per episode on my show here, so.
Nice.
Captain America was
24-minute.
Creating to hunt mutants.
He was part of the Weapon X program. He is Weapon 1. But I don't know much about Captain America lore other than that. So.
No.
It changes so much.
Don't do Cap bad. Come on.
Yeah. We don't need that. It's like bad Superman. It's boring.
Yes, exactly. All right. You want to do a little news, guys? So they've been talking about this Agatha series for a while. Go ahead, John.
I wanted to inject one thing into the news.
Go for it.
I wonder if it's what I want to inject in.
Nicolas Cage is going to star as Spider-Man Noir.
Is that confirmed? I saw something about
it's
that.
It's in Variety and a few other places. So
God damn it. Okay.
I saw it too, yeah.
Is it going to be a live action or animated?
Live action.
Live action, yeah.
Well, doesn't he voice him in the animated?
On Prime.
He did, yes.
Yeah, like a show on Prime or something, I think.
Amazon Prime, yeah.
Yeah.
No. Can I say no?
No, you can't, because it's Nicolas Cage. He'll come out and kill you.
You can say no. That's fine.
I love Nicolas Cage, but he's too old to do a live-action Spider-Man.
You don't have to like Nicolas Cage.
I want my Spider-Mans younger. That sounds so much more wrong than I intended.
Right. Yeah. Yes, it does.
But you know,
anyone else
man's younger.
You always think of Spider-Man as a kid in high school or maybe college, at the most just out of college and married, not older than me, Nicolas Cage. You know, like.
I don't like chest hair on my Peter Parker.
If it were anyone else, I would be right there with you. But it's Nicolas freaking Cage, man.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't need all the.
Is it Sony doing it?
Make more Spider-Man movies. Stop making like Madam Web and Morbius and Spider-Man Noir and.
Though they were going to
Craven, which we haven't even gotten. And...
Did you know they were going to this? I didn't include this. They were going to do a Madam Web series, and now that has been canceled.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, big surprise.
Also, like a Silk.
The Silk one was canceled. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. All this like retcon stuff. It's like
nobody wants adjacent series, and it's funny because Gotham kind of works. I'm not a fan of the show.
Boo.
But it's like that's a Batman.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's a Batman adjacent series.
No,
a
it
lot of
doesn't work.
diehards do not like it.
No.
Stop trying to give us Spider-Man adjacent stories too. It's like, nah. Like we're past that. Let's I don't know. You know, like what could you do? In all honesty, think of all the characters. Like here's one that did interest me and it got canceled. Was Silver Sable, because she is a character in her own right. She just happens to be wrapped up in the Spider-Man properties. But like, you could do a Silver Sable movie, no mention of Spider-Man, and I'd be okay with that. But like when you do
she's like
Venom
a
without
super
Spider-Man,
spy.
when you do Venom without Spider-Man, it's like, what is this?
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Well, they're only going to do it one more time. There's a segue for you.
Can you just imagine the new Nick Cage memes and gifs we get from the
the crazy faces, yeah.
Let's segue to that then. It has been announced that Venom: The Last Dance, which is the official title, will be the last Tom Hardy Venom movie. Well, the last Venom movie at this point. Are we sad about that, guys? Did you? First off, has anyone seen the first two?
I just saw the first
recently.
one, about 2 weeks ago, and that's only because apparently my mom watched it while my daughter was over there, and so she wanted to see it. So believe it or not, she liked Venom. So I was like, okay, honey, I'll watch it, and I just shut up. I didn't be like, listen, he doesn't have the fucking symbol, and Spider-Man's nowhere around this shit. Okay.
The second one's marginally better than the first one.
Okay.
Like
with Woody Harrelson as Carnage, you're fucking better. That's the one thing they may have got right, but I've yet to enjoy it.
They're still like the lowest tier of like all this stuff. It's just
John,
John,
have you seen either of them?
Yeah, I saw the first one. I still haven't seen the second one.
I have not.
I keep meaning to, but it keeps slipping because I've got other things that I between work
would
and
rather
all the other
watch.
stuff I watch.
Yeah, you can keep it at the bottom of your list for quite a while.
I did not see the first
It is,
one. But I saw the second one, which was my first date with my girlfriend. So 2.5 years ago. So like,
don't go back and watch the first one. You don't need to. No, you don't need to.
How do they explain
it's only
his
worth
origin in the movies? I'm curious about that. Is he still an alien?
He's an alien, and this company goes up to, they're like experimenting. They found the aliens, and they're experimenting, and they're going to use it for the next evolution of the humans because we need to be able to survive in space, and these symbiotes are going to help us survive in space. So anyway, he just happenstance.
It's about as dumb as Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he just finds this girl that's infected. Well, he goes to this facility where they're keeping these people. Anyway, so it just jumps from the girl to him. And Venom likes Tom Hardy. So
I am still with Sam Raimi on Spider-Man 3. They forced Venom down his throat. He didn't want to do them, and he was right. That movie would have been
right. He's right. If he didn't want to do them, then I get that. But we did want Venom. We wanted Venom. I'll be honest with you. Like, as those movies were coming out, we were like, when's Venom coming?
I remember reading a comic, I want to say 1992, 1993, and I would read the letters to the editor in the back of the books. And there was a letter about, like, asking about the Spider-Man movie because people don't remember. That's when they started talking about the movie. I mean, you guys remember Michael Jackson was rumored to be the star at one point.
James Cameron was going to direct it. That was like a big thing for a while. Do you remember that?
And there was letters. The one I remember was asking, well, is Venom going to be in the movie? And they were like, oh, no, maybe not in the first one. But it was like, people wanted him back then, right? Yeah. So it makes sense that Sony was like, oh, yeah, let's do it. But it didn't. To squeeze him into one movie doesn't work, and it's been proven multiple times here, people. We're getting
like
Secret Wars.
look at what they were doing with look what Sam Raimi was trying to do with the Lizard. They should have been trying to do that with Venom if they really wanted to use him. Was have Eddie Brock in the background, have him as like a side character, and then have this happening going on, and then But
I do think that is the greatest missed opportunity in movies was Spider-Man 4 with Sam Raimi doing Lizard, because he had been setting him up all that time, and it would have been somebody that Peter has a real connection with and is friends with, becoming a villain. Like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And there would have been real emotional stakes, but they ruined it.
Yep, they always will.
All right,
there's always comics. You can always go back to comics.
Speaking of Marvel mistakes, maybe Agatha All Along is now the official title of the Agatha series.
Stop changing titles. Jesus.
It has gotten a release date of September 18th of this year. Is anyone out there excited for this series on Disney Plus?
I mean,
I'm interested.
WandaVision is probably still my favorite show from Marvel, from this official Marvel or whatever the hell. So maybe, but I feel like I've been hearing about it for 4 years, and they change the name every time I hear about it. So
yes,
it does become hard to care after a while.
I have no idea why it's taken so long to bring this one out.
I don't know.
John, I'm not excited about it at all, but it is nice though that they are releasing like different labels now. They're separating the cinematic universe from the animated universe from the TV universe now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw that article that came out recently. And so they are moving away from you have to watch everything to watch something. You know what I'm saying there?
Where we were before they took over the TV.
Yes.
Great.
It's under the same label as.
It's like when I see commercials on my streaming, like, oh, good, they invented television. Thanks, guys.
But I have to say this, right? The thought was, and it blew up in their face, was if we tie everything together, you've got to watch everything, so it guarantees eyeballs on the TV series, the movies, and everything else.
And they forgot that people have actual lives. That's the problem.
I'm kind of glad they decided, like, no, let's not do that, because I do think this series will have no impact on the greater MCU. It'll just be something fun to watch with side characters. But what were you gonna say, Chris?
It's TV. It's not your graduate degree. It doesn't fucking matter. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
You don't have to watch any. Do whatever the hell you want.
Well, it's funny. You didn't have to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to understand what was going on in the next Marvel movie. Yeah. It was nice to have a little extra context, but it didn't impact anything. And now it's like,
no.
Yeah, if you missed,
and I liked Moon Knight, but you certainly didn't need to watch that for anything else.
If you missed Miss Marvel and WandaVision, you have no idea who these two characters are in the Marvels. And it was like, yeah, and then the movie failed. Ooh, who saw that coming?
Right.
You were gonna say something, John.
Oh no, completely forgot what I was gonna say.
Are any of us gonna watch Wanda All Along? Or I'm sorry, Agatha All Along.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
I
might be able to talk my wife into it because she liked WandaVision.
Yeah, and the actress is awesome. She
is.
She's funny. She makes the character, really. You know?
Aubrey Plaza's in it too, which is always good for me.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yep.
Don, you're being quiet. Do you not like attractive
Catherine Hahn,
actresses?
by the way. Catherine Hahn.
No, I honestly, I'm just not into it at all. I mean, I appreciated the character in WandaVision, but I am a little burnt out on the shows. I mean, I'll pull a John here. Maybe if I'm folding clothes or something, I'll put it on when I'm bored. But if I've got time to kill, I just don't see it being a factor. I don't. I'm not interested in it at all.
That's great.
I'm the same way with the Thunderbirds.
You know what? I appreciate you being honest about it, because that's the kind of stuff Marvel and Disney needs to hear, right? Like, I don't want to watch this Disney Plus show, but I do want to watch your next movie. Like, stop trying to tie everything together, because it's not going to work. Yeah. Real quick, Thronkill says, Dave, have you got to see the Turtles He-Man crossover stuff yet? No, I haven't. Is that from IDW? I will need to check that out.
IDW is the only one that would do that kind of thing. Yeah.
They're the one that does all that crap.
Yeah.
And IDW is the Turtles book publisher. So
I will just getting hard into licensed properties right now. I don't know if you guys.
Well, it's funny because they probably are my two favorite properties from when I was a kid. So
Teenage Mutant Turtles and Stranger Things.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
It's
that's
a
too far.
hardcover. It's literally on the front page of IDW right now.
That is too far. I'm sorry. Nope.
I hate crossovers.
Regular viewers of this show know I am not a Stranger Things fan. Sorry, I don't like things where kids get hurt, so I can't watch it. But yeah, nope.
That's why you have Ninja Turtles, Teenage Ninja Turtles to help.
I like, look, you can hurt a turtle all you want because they get back up. He-Man, he is the most powerful man in the universe. You can't hurt him, damn it.
He's also a kid. Technically.
Prince Adam is a kid, technically. Yeah, I'll give
I'm
you
sorry
that.
to rain on your parade.
Damn you! Now I can't like He-Man anymore.
Yes.
You've hurt me. You've hurt me to the core. All right. And then finally, Tim Lake Nelson, who is playing the leader in Captain America 4, Brave New Worlds, has confirmed that the special effects for the leader is all practical. They're not doing CGI.
Oh, great.
There you go. That's what I was waiting for. What do we think of that? Like, I think it's weird in 2024 that all of a sudden they'd be like, let's just do practical for the leader. Like,
well, if they do it well, it's going to look better than the weird flatness of, I mean, Godzilla -1 showed us that if the director knows how to use CGI well and uses it properly and when it's needed and uses practical effects when needed.
Wasn't Godzilla -1 a combination, though, of practical and CGI?
It was, but like the director himself had been a CGI guy. So he knew when to use it and how to do it. And that's why they were able to do $150 million and still get an Oscar for the effects.
Well,
so
even Marvel's done good CGI characters. I mean, maybe not recently, but Thanos,
I found it fascinating because we live in a world where half of the costumes are CGI anymore. They're just wearing the gray suits with the dots on them. And then they're adding the suits later in post. It's like, why all of a sudden are we now going practical?
Here's the thing. Okay, like
tightening their belts.
CGI is a tool, right? It's not just tightening belts. It's the fact that everything they moved to like almost everything CGI, and it looks like crap, right? Like if you look at the difference here, a perfect example of this is The Thing. The original John Carpenter's The Thing was all practical effects, and it's still to this day considered one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Most visceral horror movies of all time too. If you look at the 2011 prequel, The Thing, they had practical effects, and then the studio came in and said, "Yeah, I don't like that. Let's overlay everything with CGI," and it looked like crap. It looked like lawnmower crap. So Lawnmower Man crap, right? If you've ever seen Lawnmower Man, you know what bad CGI looks like. So this is like, if they're going to use practical effects, good. they should use practical effects when it looks good. If they need to use CGI, they need to have somebody there to tell them when to use CGI and how properly, like they did in Godzilla -1. So, I'm glad to hear that they're using practical effects again.
My problem, and maybe this is your problem, Dave, is that who cares? Just do the best job. We don't need to know ahead of time what it is or what you used. It doesn't matter.
Oh, true.
What's the story? You know what I mean? Like, how good is this movie going to be? I don't know. Focusing on the wrong stuff.
The story shouldn't be that they're using practical effects or CGI. It should be the story is the story.
Yeah, it's like if we spent 3 hours complaining about Superman's costume or something.
Right.
Not like we would ever do that.
No, we would never.
One of my real issues, believe it or not, has nothing to do with CGI, practical, or any of that. It's why isn't Sam Wilson's first outing as Captain America, the two villains he's going against are Hulk villains and not Captain America villains? Like Red Hulk and the Leader. It's like, wait a minute. There's still plenty of characters we haven't touched on in the Captain America pantheon.
I think I know why, though. I really do. I can kind of see why. First of all, the Leader is green, so they don't want two green creatures on the same screen. So I can see that. And the same thing as I don't think they really want two Hulks in the same movie. I really don't. So I'm with you. It is weird, but I think.
But that's going to bother me.
Like,
watch a movie without Mark Ruffalo. Thank you. The Hulk in it with two Hulk villains. I'm going to be like, what are we doing here?
See, I kind of like it because they've made so many movies where it's like it's the hero and then the opposite of the hero, and then one of them comes off boring.
We're also dealing with a Sam Wilson who does not have the super soldier serum, so it's like.
Yeah, it's going to be real hard for him to fight a Hulk.
Yeah, really hard for him to fight a Hulk. Like,
nobody's got the super awesome Wakanda wings now, though. So that's gotta be something.
And a leader, a guy with a big green head, whatever his powers are, I don't know.
But I get because as an X-Men fan with the X-Men movies, that's why I'll never probably get to see, or at least I didn't get to see Apocalypse, Beast, Mystique, and Nightcrawler all in the same movie. Just because they're all blue. Like. I maybe got two of those in the same movie at a time. Actually, I got two of those.
I got confused.
As much as I love the Hulk in the comics, when he's done right, the Leader has been the stupidest villain as well, because it's like he's supposed to be super intelligent and he uses his intelligence against the Hulk, but the Hulk always defeats him, who is basically the average voter's intelligence in this country. It's like, sorry.
Whoa,
so
where's T'Challa now?
Where's T'Challa?
Way to insult the Hulk.
All right. I'll make everyone happy.
What are you doing? We don't do that here.
But I've never really thought of him as a good villain, because it's like you'd want to see him defeat the Hulk, right? Because if he's supposed to be super intelligent, he should be able to know how to stop somebody.
It's the MCU, anyone can defeat the Hulk. He doesn't want to fight.
Well, that's true.
Come on.
So,
and the Leader in the MCU would have a big mech or something, something like that.
Oh, you mean like the Hulkbuster armor from Iron Man?
Over the Hulk, yeah.
Who is gone now?
But my head can't fit.
Real quick, I've been thinking about this. Like, I've been seeing memes and stuff online for a while about the Avengers, right? And how here's the new Avengers, and they show all the kids and stuff, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, Hulk, Hawkeye, Thor, a lot of the Ant-Man, all these Avengers are still on the board. Why are we discounting them already? And I get the actors, some of them do want to leave. My understanding, Chris Hemsworth is still interested in playing Thor, but like, you know, I don't know what Ruffalo is doing as the Hulk, but like, what do you guys think? Like, should we just move on from everyone, or should we like keep using those guys at least one more time?
Recast.
That's
would
tough.
you like to be the Hulk?
Recasting.
Yes or no? Okay, we've only got so much money. Would you do it for that? Yes or no? Okay. I mean, these are comic
Recasting is tough, though. You know that.
It shouldn't be. I mean, you know,
they didn't recast T'Challa. You know,
right? And look, and they're dying, right? Because
Yeah.
he's a popular, important character in the comics, and you've just taken him off the board. It was really, really sad. Like, I get all that, I truly do, but now to kill the actual T'Challa character in the Black Panther because the actor died, like that seems ridiculous to me. Because again, a lot of people that want to see Avengers want to see Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Panther. That's who we want. That's who you're going to have to. I'm sorry to inform you of that, but you're going to have those characters around for decades. Sure, sprinkle in some or have a new Avengers TV show, whatever. But that's your core. That's who people care about. You're going to have to recast because actors don't live or want to do stuff forever. I mean, that's
eventually. I think as it is now, I think you can have a couple of the old guard training the new people or going on missions with them, or you could segue into some new characters. But
being the guy in the chair, playing old Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, exactly. Old Wayne and Neo Gotham.
At the end of the day, it comes down to something JD says all the time. Comics are chapter 2 or the second act. It goes on forever. The characters don't age, they don't change. It's just one conflict after another.
Yes.
And forever it's going to be teenage Peter Parker. It's going to be Tony Stark, Iron Man. But in the real world, actors age out, right? And if you don't go into the MCU with a plan of, we're going to start here, this is our middle, and this is our end, I feel like you are where we're at right now, right? Like, things are kind of a mess, and we don't know where to go. And Don, you make a great point. Recasting works to keep going with chapter 2.
Yeah, but it's a law of diminishing returns. If you
exactly, like, do the audience want that? And I feel like at this point they don't. They do want new characters. They want new blood brought in. So,
well, my case in point against that is going to be X-Men 97. Like, look how crazy convoluted that storyline is, but we are hook, line, and sinker because
it's a cartoon.
It's our X-Men. Well, that's why the wife won't watch it with me.
Yeah. And they didn't put it in theaters.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back with, I think, what's our main topic. All right, we'll be right back.
This is so wizard, Annie.
Broadcasting very fast and very dangerous from the planet Malistan. You are listening to So Wizard.
You're thinking people gonna die?
The only podcast to make the Kessel run in under 12 parsecs.
There'll be no one to stop us this time.
I am your host, Joey DiCarlo, and with me, my co-hosts, the queen of all nerds, Aubrey Litchfield, and the expert, Mr. Marquis, Mark Ellis-Ray. You are listening to So Wizard Podcast, where three friends review movies, TV, and sometimes more, podcasting weekly on the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. Mark Ellis-Reagans, please tell the listeners where they can find more So Wizard Podcasts.
Everybody, you can head on over to SoWizardPodcast.com, and there you're going to find a brand new episode every week. Find So Wizard on all podcasting streaming platforms such as iTunes, Spotify, Good Pods, and pretty much wherever you can find a podcast. Check out our YouTube page, where new content is being uploaded regularly. We also have a Patreon page. For as little as $1 a month, you can receive exclusive bonus content while you're supporting the show.
No, I didn't. First of all, a podcast takes a lot of work, okay? You have to organize the guests, you have to do a Google Calendar, and then you build a following. It takes a long time, and I've been working on it for a while.
All right. Main topic. Wow, my mind just went blank. So first off, Mr. Anti-Idiotic said, let's fan cast Kitty Pryde in the MCU. We'll get to that in a second. And then Thrawn said, they didn't have an easy time with casting Reed, but now that
they bit the bullet. Now that they bit the bullet, recasting with Secret Wars on the way just makes sense. Sure, keep some, but others are recast.
Yeah, I mean, because Don, you said that recast, and they can do that with Secret Wars because they can say they're pulling versions from different universes. And Marvel's been weird about that, right? Because it's like in Multiverse of Madness, the same Doctor Strange was in all of the multiverses, all the universes that we saw, but yet in No Way Home, Spider-Man was the 3 that we know. Different. Yeah, so they've kind of said like, yeah, there's a lot that are the same, but there are ones that are different. But so they can recast, and I don't.
They can and they will at some point, but I'm in no hurry for it.
Right.
And the example I would use comes from comics. In 1985, DC has Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they condense all of their convoluted, at that point, like 40-year comic book history, and they streamline it, and they're like, this is it. This is how it is now.
And it's
40 years,
never changed again, right?
And then, yeah, right. Then they immediately start undoing it, and then they don't. It doesn't take another 40 years. It takes 20 years, and then they do it in 10 years, and then 5 years, and then it's
and then New 52, and then Rebirth, and then
every year, yeah,
Rebirth 2, Electric Boogaloo.
It's funny because
once you open that door, you just keep doing it.
Isn't X-Men 97 a streamlined version of what we got in the comics?
It is, yeah. It's like a draft. It's like a second draft, and it is.
Yeah.
It is better for that.
I think you said it last week, right? Sometimes the second draft is better. So yeah.
So
because look, this is the second stab at explaining Cable, and I think they did a fairly good job. Like, it's easy to understand. Now I don't have to sweat bullets when somebody says, "What about this Cable guy?" Oh,
I understand the Phoenix better from both the animated series and X-Men 97. You know, in the comics, it was like, what is going on? You know.
The other problem with like recasting is, so you recast Iron Man. Is it stipulated in the actor's contract? Do they want the origin story? Do they want to do that? Do they want that arc? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so then what? I have to watch that again? So I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, then you start getting that. That's a big snowball. I don't want to.
I don't think you do though, because when you guys were talking about what was it, All-Star Superman, how it's like 4-panel origin because everybody already fucking knows.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, the actor demanding that, but no, I would steer away.
Or even the studio. You know what I mean? I agree with you. I don't think we need origins for most of these things, but
yeah, you make a good point, but also look at Tom Holland. He didn't care. Like, they totally skipped over Spider-Man's origin in the MCU. It was just, boom, here he is. You know,
they did, and that's a good example of how to do that. But how many Batman origins have we gotten?
Even when they say they're not going to give it to us,
they do it.
They give it to us anyway in like a flashback or in the opening sequence of the movie. It's like
another good, and I'm kind of okay with it there. Like, it's not a very good movie, but the Edward Norton like Hulk movie, they rehash the origin, but in the opening credits, it's like, do that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, that's also weird too, right?
People where this isn't their whole life.
We got Hulk not too long ago before the Incredible Hulk, and they're not connected, but at the same time they are. But they totally redo the origin in the beginning, where it's more like the TV show where he's like in that chair and they're hitting him with radiation. It was like,
But it's pretty.
what?
But it's like kind of. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Where in the origins in the comics, he was at a site that was they were exploding bombs, and that's how he became the Hulk. So it's like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah, X-Men. Let's go.
Fucking dorky shit.
So Chris, this was your idea, and I really liked it, and that's why we're making the main topic this week is we've just had X-Men 97 end season 1. We've got Deadpool and Wolverine coming up, which is really the first foray of the X-Men into the MCU. So going forward, what are the lessons of the Fox X-Men universe that Disney should take or Marvel should take as we bring the X-Men into the MCU? And I'm going to start us off with this, and this is something I stand behind 100%. Too much Wolverine. Like, I get he was the big character in the 90s and the beginning of 2000, but it's a team. Let's not make it all about Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. He's not my favorite character, but
I mean, when you have Hugh Jackman playing him, then you make him the spotlight. But as far as the characters are concerned, I agree.
But even before that, though, I know what Dave's talking about in the 90s. Like, as an X-Men fan, like, Wolverine was Marvel for a time being. Like, yeah. Spider-Man was always Marvel, but then, in the 90s came Wolverine, and then Wolverine was Marvel. I mean, he's X-Men, Avengers. I mean, what team in the Marvel Universe has he not been on? You know,
the new Fantastic Four. He was in that.
Yes, he was.
God, right.
With Spider-Man,
Hulk, and
Ghost Rider.
Right.
Yeah, you got it.
What did he do on the Fantastic Four? Did he just set him on fire because he heals so quick?
I would love that movie.
Wait. That was in the 90s? I'm trying to remember. Or was it the
new Fantastic Four? Might be the late 80s.
It was 90 or 91. Yeah, it was.
I was introduced to it by the Marvel Series 1. I didn't even know they existed until those cards came out. I was like, what the fuck is this? That's awesome. Anyway,
they did a lot of weird stuff with the Fantastic Four in the 80s.
Those are good. Those are good books. So that's written by Walt Simonson, drawn by Art Adams.
Remember when Storm and T'Challa were on the Fantastic Four as well? Yes. Oh my god.
Anyway, so I think part of the reason was the X-Men, so this is the beginning of the X-Men.
Yeah.
It was pretty much Marvel's first in the Silver Age. It was their first failure. Was the it was in reprints for 5 years after so many years. It did not do well, and so when it came back, the X-Men everybody knows is this X-Men, and Wolverine is front and center in this team, and so are all the new characters like Nightcrawler and Storm and everybody.
Right.
So it's not the real X-Men, but in a way, it is the real X-Men. That's the X-Men that sold. That's the one that people like for sure.
You bring up an interesting point. Like, people automatically think the X-Men were always a huge book, and
it was not.
It was not. It was giant size X-Men that when they reintroduced the characters, all these new characters, and they kept the theme, right? Like the civil rights, gay rights, all that kind of stuff, shown through mutants instead of homosexuals or minorities, but the same concept.
Yeah, the way any good social science fiction does.
Yes, thank you. And they reintroduced it in the 70s. It's like, oh, okay, now it's a big book. And they attributed a lot of the success to Wolverine, right? And then he became a bigger character in the 80s. In the 90s, it was like everything was Wolverine,
I mean, he had his own book, and he was in how many team books? And you would, the same way you used to put, Spider-Man in the second issue of Darkhawk to boost the sales. I knew you'd like that one. You would throw Wolverine in there to boost sales for.
Oh my god,
new
I might be one of the only people on the planet that has like all of the run of Darkhawk, except for maybe the last 5 issues.
Here's a confession. Here's a weird confession. The only comic I ever got in the mail, like for a subscription, was Darkhawk when I was a kid. It's the only one I've ever gotten. I don't know why.
Okay, my mind's blanking. Who was the creator of Darkhawk?
David Michelini? No.
No,
Tom DeFalco.
Yeah, Tom was the writer. Yeah, who was the artist on the book, though?
Oh, Mike Manley was the one I always think of. Yeah,
Mike has been on our show a couple times back in the early days. Mike's a great guy. He's from Philly or the area.
Yeah.
He actually taught at one of the colleges in the area too. And it's funny because it's like I didn't even put it together when I first met him. Like I went and looked at my collection. I'm like, oh my god, I've got all these Darkhawk books. So. And then we had him on the show. He was on our live show we did. Remember, John, at the
Yep.
What was the name of that place?
What, the Tattooed Mom or
the Tattooed Mom? That was it. Yeah. When we did
Anyway,
Tattooed
sorry
Mom.
to derail the show with a Darkhawk reference.
No, sorry. Mike's a great guy. Like anyone who has ever seen his work or met him will agree. I think so. All right. So yeah. So I think that's my first thing. Like. I'm not saying don't make Wolverine an important character. Of course, he's the most popular character of the X-Men, but there's an entire team. I think X-Men 97 proved you don't need Wolverine to be the main character because, let's be honest, agree or disagree with me, he was kind of a sideline character in this first season.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. But I think that was on purpose. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, Cyclops was the badass in this season.
I think one of the strengths of the X-Men is also its weakness, which is that it has such a varied and wide cast of characters. That's
True.
Good, but then you could also take 10 X-Men fans and ask them to give you their preferred roster, and
everyone's going to give you that answer. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just not going to. I mean, they're not going to have any crossover character. You know what I mean? Like it's
Right, like Thrawn says, let's fan cast Kitty Pryde. And I think of...
I don't know any actresses that are that young.
Yeah,
like that's the first thing, right? You need a kid to play Kitty Pryde. Number one. Number two, I remember from Pride of the X-Men and... oh, God, I can't think of her name, or his name now, who played him in the movies in X2 and X3.
Oh yeah,
Ellen Page,
Elliot
Page,
Elliot Page. Yeah, like that's who I think of when I think of Kitty Pryde. So it's like it's completely open.
Let me ask you this: an even better, saucier question. Maybe T'Challa might have to come back out here. But with Kitty Pryde, she's Jewish. And I've seen online where there is discourse on if they do her, should she be, Jewish? Is she Jewish enough? Like, so my question is, do you think they're going to stay away from that with that character? Because even in the comics, even recently, she started wearing the cross, the Star of David.
Okay, hold on. You're delving into very dark territory right now there, Don.
That's why I'm saying, do you think they will steer away from it because of that? That's what I'm asking.
I think, to be completely honest, I think in the current climate, they'll avoid the character altogether. Right?
Yeah, I think I don't disagree, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
It's just easier to avoid it than to actually deal with the situation, because you're dealing with a universe where you would have Miss Marvel and Kitty Pryde together. Anyway, let's move on before I have to do this.
What are you doing? We don't do that here.
Indeed.
Jubilee, if you want to do young character, I think X-Men 97 proved Jubilee is the kind of the character you go with.
You mean Carrie Kelly, Robin?
Yeah, I don't disagree with
Although-
that comparison.
They are doing the whole Kamala Khan mutant thing, so I
Mhm.
think she might be the choice there if we get our young, X-Men.
So you're
woman,
saying
female that we get to.
we would bring Kamala Khan in the X-Men instead of,
Or in addition
I'm just
to,
saying-
I mean, that wouldn't be bad. Yeah.
That's comic. It happened in the comics just recently where she was an X-Men.
Yeah.
And actually, she had this really sweet moment where, like, yes, Cyclops is like, "Here, go." Nobody
Actually-
knows me. Go ahead.
Actually, that's a brilliant point. Like, she's already in the MCU, so
She's in the MCU. She's a mutant in the MCU. They made her a mutant in the comics.
So wait, what are her mutant powers in the MCU? We don't know.
her powers are her mutant powers. So, what is it? She can.
She's got the bands, but yeah, she's got that.
But the bands
energy
are
that-
just those are just the bands, right?
But she can turn light into like a solid object. She can stretch herself, kind of like Mr. Fantastic, but not as long.
We have not gotten a lot of exposition on that. I guess is like
That's what I
see
mean.
What she
Like,
does, but
are the bands? Yeah.
The band, the band's
it's
just
almost like a
activated her
Wolverine
powers.
thing.
The bands
The
the
band's only activated her powers.
activated her powers,
Okay.
right? But it was in her already as her mutation. That's
Sure.
they explain that in the series, in the
Yeah,
Marvel
I-
series.
Must have missed it.
Yeah,
Just like Wolverine already had claws, but when he got the adamantium, that's when they actually came out. Like, of course, again, we didn't know
Yeah.
that until they ripped his metal out.
Thrawn is right.
claws.
They're ever adapting. Like they haven't especially in the MCU, they haven't said here's her powers that are mutations and here's what's given from her from those bands. So, it's not a bad idea. Like making her the focal point, but
Or at least our entry point, or not our entry point because we know all about it, but
I was gonna say
the newbies perspective, I guess. I don't know.
with both Pride of the X-Men, X-Men 90, or the X-Men animated series, and X-Men 97, all three did the same aspect to bring us into the story, which
Mhm.
was a new mutant, somebody new to the Xavier's school of what? Oh my God!
Gifted youngsters.
School for gifted youngsters.
Schools for gifted youngsters. Right. So we had Kitty Pryde, Jubilee, and then Sunspot. So
I love Sunspot. Man, I can't. It took too long.
So the problem with
Sunspot's pretty powerful too, right? Like he's
the problem with Miss Marvel is she's already in the MCU. We already know who she is. She's not like new eyes bringing us into Professor X's school. So I don't know.
They could do Hisako armor. That would be great, actually. Are you familiar with that character, armor?
I
That one's pretty
She's
cool.
a young girl. She's Japanese, and her power is she has this light projection that's like armor. Why she's called armor. She's made it look like mechs and shit. But she's been, she's played that role as well as the young person that get introduced to the X-Men, goes under Wolverine's wing and all that. So that's another. And she's like the subject of the brand new Ultimate X-Men comic that's currently.
Okay.
So there's another.
That is probably. I always thought doing Rogue in the movies, in the Fox movies, was a weird choice.
Yeah. Well.
Like she never was that character in the comics. She.
On the
was
one hand,
introduced
it
as a
makes.
villain.
On the one hand, it's strange that she would be all southern and very forward when she can't touch people. So it does make a little more sense.
Yeah.
That she would be more like the character in the movies, but it is hard to accept if you're a fan of the comics. So I had a question. Do you guys think in Wolverine and Deadpool, they're gonna be hedging their bets, right? It's not going to be the actual X-Men that we're going to eventually get.
No,
It'll
this
be-
is them
Yeah, no.
saying goodbye to the Fox
So,
universe.
I mean, it's so funny because a lot of the YouTubers I watch have been pushing this concept that X-Men 97 is going to tie to Wolverine and Deadpool. And that's how we're going to get the X-Men in the MCU. And I'm like, it makes no sense, especially
Maybe 5
after
years ago, but they're not going to do it now.
Yeah, and especially after watching the finale when it's like, no, they threw us in a huge cliffhanger where they're in two different spots in time. How do you tie that into this movie? It makes no sense. And then what is it? The scene where Wolverine's sitting there, drops to his knees, and is all those columns, and someone, I think it was New Rockstars, no, it was Screen Crush, said that, oh, well, that's all those pillars are all the Wolverine throughout all the multiverse, and he's realizing he's the Wolverine or something, and that's why he's so overwhelmed. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, no, I think when we get Wolverine in the MCU, they're going to recast him. Hugh Jackman's done, right? Like, he came back for one more movie because his friend Ryan Reynolds said, come on, do this movie with me and it'll be fun. And that's it. Like, we've got to get a new Wolverine going forward. So this idea that this is the characters we're getting is like, no. Like, this is, I don't remember if it was Don or Chris who just said this. It's like, this is them sending off the Fox universe, and we're done with it. Like,
yeah, this is like saying, like, stop with the Hugh Jackman Wolverine shit. No, it's just, we're done. This is it. Don't recast any James McAvoy. None of that shit.
Right.
We're done. New stuff. Here you go. Enjoy this. Did that taste good? Okay. Leave me alone.
I don't mind one or two younger actors coming back because, again, we're dealing with multiverse shit. But, like, I'll take Kelsey Grammer's voice on a CGI beast.
Yeah.
Like we got in
I
the
agree.
Marvels. Like, I would love that. That would be perfect. If McAvoy wants to come back as Xavier with his head shaved, which I don't think he does.
I bet he doesn't.
Probably not. Yeah.
It took him forever to shave his head just for the movies.
I'm gonna pick his name up. Steven Kipilchevich or whoever does Colossus, he can come back because he's just CGI.
Right, he's just the voice. Right. Well, I do think that's a weird choice that we don't see him outside of his metal form in those movies. But
if you've seen the actor, and I think he's a little bit too sexy. I think I don't know.
so they use practical effects for his metal form, and they do CGI him in real form.
But that is weird, and I do kind of headcanon that because I'm like, why is Colossus always in his armor in the Deadpool movies? And so in my head, it's because he knows Deadpool is like a murderous, crazy fuck. So he's just like, I better stay in here in case he wants to stab me and break his back,
Yeah.
So.
Not because they don't want to waste the budget on transformation sequences.
So I wrote that in there for him. You can have that one. Yeah.
Kassan says the biggest lesson to take away from the Foxverse is to make R-rated deep stories. Logan and Deadpool raked in the cash. I don't disagree with that, but we're now in Disney territory, so
and you're also in like X-Men, so you want to be able to take your kids to it. Like,
right. PG-13 is the hardest we're going to get at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Unexpected take from me. I did not like Logan.
Oh, I love that movie.
Really didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
What,
all right.
why?
I got to ask, what is your biggest issue with the movie?
Well, my biggest
Besides
issue
they
with the
killed off
movie,
Wolverine.
Well, no, I mean, I guess I'm okay with that. I didn't like the subject matter. I don't like the old man Logan thing, and I didn't like the fact. I just really didn't like the fact because it didn't make sense to me that they would make Xavier the one that killed all the X-Men and not go with, if you're going to do old man Logan, then why
Make
not
Logan
strap
the one,
him?
yeah.
You're right. I understand you didn't want to do Mysterio. Okay, whatever. But so that's it. Why make the senile old guy that can't sit there and grieve over it be the one that actually did it, like in the comics? So
Well, let me say this. It's them trying to do Old Man Logan and Fox without having the rights to all the other characters in that story.
And that, and you know what? And you said it best right there. And that's what annoyed me. I did not enjoy. I don't like them attempting that at all. Just like with the Venom shit. Like, well, I don't know. You do have Spider-Man, but you still anyway. So yeah, that was my problem. Is they were trying to do a storyline and switched it up because of rights, and it just won an Oscar. So listen, I'm in the minority here. I'm not going to sit here and say it was bad. It wasn't for me. I also think it was Hugh Jackman's supposed to be Swan Song, so I think that gave it a little energy too when it came to the whole Oscar thing. But I digress. It won an Oscar, made a lot of money.
I find that part interesting as well, right? Like, he said, "This is it. I thought this story was really good, so I decided to come back and do this one last Wolverine movie." And then he was done, and then Ryan Reynolds was like, "Hey, you want to make some money? Let's do Deadpool Wolverine and send away the X."
They've said it's not going to interfere with that, but I don't see how it couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's you offer these guys enough cash, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, one more time."
Well, it's not going to interfere with it because multiverse. They're saying
Jr.
They're saying it's not the same Wolverine.
That is true. That right. Yeah, Kevin Feige actually has even confirmed that. Like, the Wolverine in this movie is not the Logan Wolverine because they didn't want to touch upon that storyline. I get it.
It was good.
Yeah, even though it still takes place in the future, like, and I don't get that too, right, Don? And I agree with you there. Like, it's in the future, but how far in the future is this? Where he's an old man and he's defeated, but yet when you look around, it doesn't look that far from where we are right now.
And Xavier's still alive.
Yeah,
so
he's working a gig economy job. He is.
Yeah,
that is so true. I didn't even think about that. Oh my god!
I think what they could take, or what they should have learned from the Fox movies, is get them in their real fucking costumes. None of this motorcycle jacket, leather, Grant Morrison, new X-Men stuff.
I'm going to say that, like, when you go to conventions now and you see guys dressed as Wolverine, they're in the brown jacket holding, claws in their hands and they've got the hair done, and it's like, yeah, that was cool in the movie, but that's not Wolverine. Like,
so you haven't read any issues of the comics. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. You saw the movie, but you don't know what's going on in the comics.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, and it was even said in X-Men 97, would you prefer black leather? Like, yeah. And it's funny, we've talked about that on this show a lot, where when you go back late 90s, but early 2000s, the X-Men movies, it was like they were afraid to do comic book accurate costumes. But then Spider-Man came out and did a comic book accurate costume that elevated it with the raised webs, and it was like, oh my god, we love this. This is cool. And then we slowly got like...
Oh, they pushed so hard to try to get him to have visible eyes in that costume. I'm so glad they didn't. They tried so hard.
I mean, until we get to Civil War, where we get Spidey in the MCU, and he's got eyes that open and close, and it's like, oh my god, that's Spider-Man. Like, this is it.
Well, that's because somebody actually had an algorithm for CGI that could do the eyes like that. Like, I forget if there was, there was some kind of rights problem with it too, but it's used for everything. Everybody uses it now when they do costumes because the eyes are so expressive.
Well, yeah, I mean, Deadpool elevated that too, right? Like, Deadpool's eyes move when you really pay attention. It's like, oh wow, he's expressing himself.
It looks like the comic book. Yeah,
I won't take it away from Sam Raimi and Webb. I can't think of his first name, who directed the other Spider-Man movies. Mark Webb. Yeah. They tried to use the reflections in the eyes to express what was going on around, and it worked to a point. But yeah, once we got eyes that open and close, it was like, yeah, we're done. That's Spider-Man. And then, but even like we get the first Iron Man in 2008, where it was like, oh, he's actually wearing a suit of iron, like, and it's red and gold like the comics. Like, this works. Captain America, like,
that was the movie that proved you could do that in my eyes.
Yeah,
that was the first, like, oh shit, that's the Captain America from the comics, and this looks fucking great.
Yeah, I mean, the only argument that an outsider
yeah.
could make is that, well, their costumes don't confer that or display that they're in a team together. But who cares? Like, they're individuals. That's part of the point of the X-Men too, right? Like,
These do. If you want to go
yeah, that's true.
If you want to go real old school with it.
But I'm thinking Giant X-Men
Again,
*1.
what did we talk about that?
That's true.
Like,
I know.
it got canceled. Like,
okay,
and
we
you
could
bought
go those
the giant size X-Men, and you've got Colossus and fucking Wolverine. Like, everyone looks fucking different.
You can go X Factor with it. Those big, ugly, like different
suit
colored
jacket
ones
or those
with, like,
jackets,
the big,
the bombers and
the
the
big
big
Oh my
X
god.
Hmm.
That's. I mean, but you bring a good point, Chris. We're at the point now we can get comic accurate costumes. Let's just do it. Like, let's stop playing the game. I mean, and in fact, they're saying that in Deadpool Wolverine. Like, here he is in his yellow and blue, and Deadpool's been in his costume from the beginning. So, yeah,
Deadpool's been successful from the beginning. So to me, what we say was the biggest lesson that we learned from the Foxverse that we can, use moving forward. And I think it's more than the Foxverse that teaches us this. But when you have somebody that has passion for the source material, so let's take Deadpool and X-Men 97, right? All the people that made that happen, and we stick to, no, this is what they fucking look like. It works. When they have passion for the source material, it works. Yes, do they have to stick directly to it? Can they find ways to bring in other people? So my wife wants to watch these things? Absolutely. But you got to be at a baseline to even do that.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get that baseline without keeping, us that like the property already engaged. And so if you change shit and you get too wacky, you start taking the look out of it. Comics are not all about, but it's very visual for me, at least. Very, very visual. So you got to keep the visuals. You got to stick with and just be passionate. And it works. It makes money.
San says, I'm fascinated by how much resistance people have against costume redesign. And let me say this here. To me, the issue is X-Men 90s, the X-Men movies in the 2000s, they were complete redesigns, right? Like, Wolverine's in a black leather suit that has an X on it. Like, nothing like his original costume. Now,
nothing like any of the costumes he ever
right.
wore.
Then nothing like any costume he's ever worn. Now,
until Grant Morrison came along, but yeah.
But I mean, those were basically concurrent.
Jump to Captain America, First Avenger, or actually the best I think would be Winter Soldier. He's wearing a comic accurate costume, but it's like a leather suit that looks like it's protective, and it's red, white, and blue to symbolize America. It's a practical version of the costume from the comics. Like, it
right, because scales are not going to make sense in real life. Like, he's wearing scale mail in the comic book.
Well, I know what you mean.
But he did have scales in Endgame, if you really pay attention. That's the most comic accurate by the end.
Right.
But I love it. Like, when they finally put the scales on, I'm like, oh my god, Cap finally on the screen. I might make a mess of my pants.
Oh no.
But yeah, like, we've gotten to the point where Marvel has said, like, look, we can give you a costume that reminds you of the comics and is realistic at the same time. And I don't have an issue with that kind of redesign. I have an issue where it's like, well, we're just going to put you in regular clothes because you have superpowers now or whatever. And it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Because, like, with Wolverine, right? Like, I'm okay with him not being in the mask. I'd love to see it. But with the mask with the big fucking, like, we don't.
The mask that's at least shape as his hair.
Right, exactly.
Somehow.
Like, but at least to see him in the yellow and blue, or the brown, and that's funny because Wolverine has multiple suits, and they're all great. My favorite is actually his black X-Force suit. That's actually his black and gray X-Force suit.
Oh yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, I get not having the Wolverine, thing.
Didn't they tease the actual mask in?
they did. They
Origins.
shot it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Or not Origins. What was the second one?
The second one
with Silver Samurai.
Yeah.
The one I
Wolverine. The Wolverine.
The Wolverine. Yeah.
Got a real Silver Samurai nowadays.
There is rumors that he does wear the mask in this movie, but
I mean,
I'm sure he will for a little bit. Well, like just with Captain America, I get it. I see any chance they get it, they take it off, you know. But just he has it. That's fine. Thor, you know, he had it for 5 minutes in the first movie, and he wore another one. But hey, he had it, you know. That's enough. The other 90% still there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always bothered me about the movies, to be honest, is how much Spidey takes his mask off.
Oh yeah, every other scene. But that goes for a lot of them because the whole point
Why are you
is
so
the acting,
worried about your secret identity?
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I gotta take this off to breathe.
You should be
for a
Judge Dredd. Never take that mask off.
I have to take it off so I can emote better.
The worst is when we get to Infinity War and he's got the Iron Spider suit and it's mechanical and it's just like every other scene, like it just comes off. It's like, what are we doing here? The scene when
you weren't surprised though.
The scene when they meet the Guardians and they're all like, they have the what do they call it? Mexican standoff where they're all pointing the guns at each other and it's like, who do you serve? Blah blah blah. And then like Peter takes his mask off to say something to Peter, and it's like, why did you do that? Like it makes no sense in that point, other than the actor said, Tom Holland's like, I need to have my face in this scene, you know, like, oh, yeah,
yep.
What does Kassan say here? I can't get around that these heroes have time to go back to their base, do a quick drive into the wardrobe and fight the world-ending threats. Hey, Apocalypse, give me 25 minutes to change.
That's comics, brother.
That is comics. I mean, let's go back.
That's why phone booths still exist.
Exactly. That's why. Let's go back to the 30s and 40s and the concept that they always have their costume under their clothes, like to be ready to go into action. Which it's got to be hot in the summer, but yeah, like they're always ready to go. So
that's why everybody's got the nanotech costumes now, like because it's easier on the plot, I guess.
That is true, and I think you're right, John. Like that makes a lot of sense, especially when you see in Infinity War where Tony just taps his chest and the costume comes over him. Like he doesn't have to worry about having a costume on him all the time.
Well, even Supergirl in the CW wound up with a nanotech costume.
That's right. I forgot about that.
You know, it's you know, it kind of solves some of the plot problem of, like you said, oh God, it's getting hot. Let me take off this shirt. Oh wait, no, my secret identity's gone. You know,
I saw a comic one time, like not a actual comic book, but like making fun where Superman's got he's working at the Daily Planet. He's got his sleeves rolled up and his shirt open a little bit, and you can see the costume, and it's like
underneath it.
Yeah,
of course.
John, I'm curious because you're not as big of a Marvel or X-Men fan.
Mm-hmm.
The Fox Marvel movies. What is something that Disney should look at from those movies and say, let's not repeat that. Let's make this better in the new version.
Most of it. I mean, by box office, most of it, really.
The first couple movies did really well, and that's why they kept going.
The first one was good. I mean, you know, and the way they introduced Sabretooth and everything, that was pretty awesome, actually, I thought.
Yeah.
But just by the way you guys have been talking all this time, don't mess with the characters too much. Try to capture the spirit of the actual characters from the comics. Don't let the studio come in and start dictating, hey, you know, this doesn't fit in our 4 quadrants. You have to, you know, make this person, you know, give them different power or something or whatever. It's just basically have somebody who cares about the characters write the story. You know,
Yeah.
And try not to go so big in the beginning. If you think you're gonna do a trilogy, start small, work your way up, for crying out loud.
No, they won't do that.
I know.
I think
if they're spending $300 million, the fate of the world has to be at balance.
But we get
agree.
tired of it. The best stories we see are the ones where the world isn't in danger. It's like more personal.
Right.
Oh, and also, sorry, Chris, but also make the normal humans matter. The no man's land scene in Wonder Woman is perfect. You know, like if everything is self-contained, if every conflict is self-contained within the heroes themselves, then they're not heroes. It's 90210 with spandex. You know, make the citizens matter.
That's a good description of some of those Claremont issues, actually.
Yeah, no, I think if they can keep the original concept of the X-Men in mind when they're doing this, it's about marginalized people and their fight to feel accepted in the world in general. You know, whether it's civil rights, whether it's gay rights, or anything like that. Like, and don't push it in our face, but make us realize that that's what the analogy is here. You know, as long as they do that, I think it's going to be successful. But what do I know? I'm just a nerd on a podcast.
Well, hey, just to be fair, they really haven't pushed it in our face. Like X-Men 97, there was all the hubbub about, Morph is binary. The only reason I know that is because somebody complained about it being woke.
It's funny, right? Because there was all of that complaint at the beginning, and there's only one line in the entire show where they call Morph they. Other than that, that's it. Like, there is no hint that he's binary or bisexual or whatever you want to say.
So obviously it's the end of the world, right? Is that the...
Well...
I mean, what character would it make the most sense for? Morph, of course.
Of course, because he could be any gender. And that's the choice of him having just a plain face with no features for this series, because he can be anything. Or they can be anything.
Right.
He turned into Mr. Fantastic in this last episode.
Yeah, he did.
Morph turned into a lot of things.
Sauron, he turned into nothing that matters.
Yeah. So it's like, but again, other than the one line where Morph's referred to as they, and okay, DeMaio did admit that at the end of the episode where he turns into Jean Grey and says, "I love you," that was Morph saying to Wolverine, "I love you." So, but other than that, like, you know, there's nothing pushed in your face about Morph in this show, and it's like, and that's how it should be, right? It's just a part of his character. It's not a big deal. Let's just make it work, you know.
That's fair.
Great, we solved it.
We solved it.
Yep.
Thrawn
Can't
says,
wait to see the movie they make from that.
Thrawn says, "Make Earth matter. Acknowledge that giant head and hand."
Oh yeah.
Out of the Earth. Oh.
They will never touch that in a million years.
That
the
is
10-foot pole.
Done.
You're talking about.
You know, if you asked Disney or Marvel about that right then, you'd be like, "What are you talking about? What? Celestial? I don't know what that. I'm sorry."
Maybe Fantastic Four will touch on it. Maybe.
Another lesson. This is from Kassan. Stop doing timeline manipulation. The moment you introduce time travel, you lose the logic of the story. Have you read X-Men?
Yeah, I was say, when it comes to X-Men, time travel is it's ingrained. It's a part of it, as just like blue and yellow spandex. It is
Storm's like a middle schooler for like 30 issues in like the late 80s for no reason that I could remember.
Oh
you remember that? Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
She goes through the Siege Perilous and she comes out a child. And everyone's like, okay. What?
So we're doing this now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Was this always this way, or was it after Days of Future Past when they started playing with time travel in the X-Men? Because I will say, since Days of Future
I think
Past,
Days of Future Past is the major.
They probably did it before that, but it was the big kick in the pants.
Because after that, then Cable was really Cable and Bishop were the two big time
Cable
travel.
and Bishop are two of the main X-Men characters, and they are time traveling characters. You can't get away from it. It is
And they were
X-Men.
right, and they were all introduced right around this time here,
which
90s.
And Cable was huge in the
Oh, yeah.
Like so much more popular than Deadpool. It's crazy.
It's also fascinating to me because the X-Men time travel in the comics and in the movies and in Deadpool is cause and effect. They do something in the past that affects the future and vice versa. And they established in Endgame that's not how time travel works. You can't go back and change the past. So I don't know how they're going to reconcile that once they merge everything together. It's just that
maybe we'll just stop doing it.
Yeah, that's.
In fact, we have a new watcher here, New Bono. New Bono. How will Deadpool and Wolverine fit into the MCU? That is a great question, and that's part of what I wanted to try to answer tonight. But
we're assuming that he's losing the Wolverine that he's with along the way when he breaks into the MCU.
We might be losing Deadpool in this movie too. I mean,
I think we're losing all of them.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is like goodbye to the Fox universe. Anyone tied to that, which is all of the X-Men that we know, and Deadpool.
Goodbye Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I mean, he's got a bunch of shit to do. He
he
likes
does.
it, but how much does he like it?
I mean,
he likes it enough to have created the whole damn thing. Really,
these guys. Also, let's put it this way: these guys are kind of like, well, Jackman is older than me. I think Deadpool or Reynolds is like my age. Some of the other people are around your guys' age. Like
Hugh Jackman's like 60.
Ryan Reynolds is 47.
Okay, so he's 2 years younger than me, technically, until June 19th. So they're probably getting to the point where it's like, I don't want to play these characters anymore. I love this character, but I mean, and yes, a stuntman is in the suit and does all the crazy stuff and whatnot, but he's got to get to a point where it's like, I've had enough. It's time for me to hang up the Uzis and the swords and let the next guy play. And I'm sure
he's still right for him, though.
He is, like, and that's the whole thing. Like, I disagree that Jackman is the perfect Wolverine. Like, he's the only live action one that we've known, but I don't think he's the perfect Wolverine.
Do you guys know who Chris Claremont wanted to play Wolverine?
Do we want to?
Way back in the 90s.
In the 90s?
In the 90s,
I always wanted it.
They pitched X-Men to James Cameron. He's like, I don't know what that is. And they're like, well, we have Spider-Man. He's like, I do know what that is. And that's where that started.
It's going to be someone out of left field. So
it's
Danny
crazy.
DeVito?
Close. It's close. Bob Hoskins.
Hoskins?
I figured it had to be somebody short.
Like
Mario?
Yeah, Mario.
Wow.
That was his choice back in the day.
There's no way.
He wasn't like...
Hotchkiss was a really, really good actor, but no, he's not for that one, no.
And look, no offense to the man, rest in peace. He wasn't even in the shape to play Wolverine in the 90s, like, wow. Like, I think he was in his 40s.
Saw like a movie where he was in like a sleeveless shirt and he was like real intense and like arguing with someone, and he's like, that's the guy.
Yeah, but what was that movie in the 70s?
Yeah, exactly. Like, who knows?
Like, he was a middle-aged man by the time we got to the 90s. Like, yeah.
Pretty great, right?
Wow. Let's see. Wait. Dave has just proven my point. I don't know what point I proved, but you're welcome, Kassan.
Good job, Dave.
I have a feeling we're getting a Deadpool and Wolverine Part 2. I don't know about that.
I doubt it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a long shot.
I do remember that Thrawn kill where Danzig was rumored to be Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
I wanted Chris Benoit, but we won't go into that. That's a dark story.
I think we're going to get some kind of post-credit scene that hits the X-Men in the MCU, and we're going to get all, for the most part, all young actors. And I don't know how they're going to make it work.
But how much do you think this actually will affect the MCU? Because he does mention in the trailer about, your little cinematic universe is about to change. So I really am of two minds. I think this is a goodbye to the Fox universe, but they are implying that this is going to have some effect to the MCU. Like, what if they Crisis on him, or whatever that DC is equivalent is, where they just reset everything? What if Deadpool resets the whole thing?
That's kind of
a flashpoint. Yeah.
In Marvel,
yeah.
like, they avoided doing resets for the long time until we got Secret Wars, the second Secret Wars, where
Reed Richards and Franklin basically were in charge.
They brought everything into Battle World,
Yeah.
and then exploded it back out, and then
the
stuff they liked from Ultimates was now part of the MCU. And
I actually like that series. It's good, but
yeah.
Well, here's what's so great about that Secret Wars series that he's talking about, where Franklin Richards and Reed Richards end up like remaking the universe or whatever. That all happens and gets resolved because Miles Morales got Molecular Man a cheeseburger when he was hungry.
Yeah.
And because of that, he was like, "Hey, I'm not going to work with Doom anymore. I'll work with these guys because he gave me a cheeseburger when I was hungry."
That's how the world works.
I got a sandwich.
Cheeseburgers make the world go round. Come on. But yeah, I mean, and that's what they're setting up. They've already said they're doing Secret Wars. They've already said they're going to reset the universe. And the only thing I can think of is this was the movie that leads into Secret Wars somehow. So sets it up. And Paradox, I'm still convinced is the villain of Wolverine Deadpool. Like, he's sending Deadpool to find that version of Wolverine for a particular reason, to go after Professor Xavier's sister. What's her name?
Cassandra Nova.
Nova.
To go after Cassandra Nova for some reason. They're obviously in some kind of outworld in the preview. So, and then they confront her. They find out, like, no, Paradox is actually the villain, and that's what they're jumping into in that vortex at the end of the trailer. Like, I could be wrong, but that's my guess at this point, and that's a typical Marvel movie for you. So, because again, they keep talking about the sacred timeline, but in Loki, they said no, there's no such thing as the sacred timeline anymore. So, yeah.
Bring on Dr. Doom.
Yep. Wouldn't that mean Wolverine and Deadpool, their actors would have to be in Secret Wars? Because that's Kassan. Not necessarily that version of Deadpool Wolverine. There's a rumor that when you see the back of Wolverine in that white tuxedo, what's that version of Wolverine called?
Patch.
Patch. That's not actually played by Jackman, because you can tell from the way he's sitting in the chair, it's a shorter actor. The most popular rumor is what's his face from Harry Potter? The kid from Harry Potter. Come on.
Oh yeah, Daniel Radcliffe.
The most popular rumor is that's Daniel Radcliffe, because there was a rumor he was in the MCU at some point. The other one is the guy from the Golden Circle and those movies, the spy movies. But Egerton.
Oh yeah.
Like, they're the two most popular rumors for who that is. But it's like, that could be what it is, Kassan, is that they're going to introduce alternate versions of both the characters, because if you've watched any of the behind the scenes stuff, we've seen Gwenpool, Dogpool, and a bunch of other Deadpool variants already in the behind the scenes stuff. So I think they're going to introduce younger alternate versions that are going to be what we get in Secret Wars.
Wait, how do you feel about Gwenpool? You hate...
yes, exactly.
You hate Spider-Gwen. What's your thoughts?
I hate Spider-Gwen because of what she does to the character of Peter Parker. That particular story. They make Peter the villain in that, and it's like, that's what I don't like. That's why I don't like Spider-Gwen.
What,
So
for
we're gonna
snapping
get all
his
the
girlfriend's neck? What's wrong with that?
So we get all these different versions, and then we get at the end of the movie, we get to vote.
There you go.
Is that it?
There should be an online, like, as soon as you watch the movie, there's an online poll that you go and take. You know, which version of Deadpool do you want?
I bet it'll be fun. Very little will be resolved or revealed as to what the status is going forward.
Of course, right? Like, let's be honest, the MCU will never be the same again. They've used that line a couple times already as a tagline to sell movies, but
yeah,
I mean, I believe it a little bit more with Ryan and this movie, but not like, oh my God, everything has changed kind of a way. Just where the next step is going will be revealed. So, all right. We may have beat this topic to death, so let's bring this one in for a landing. Let's start with, let's go with recommendations. Not recommendations. Yeah, recommendations, or what have you learned on the podcast this week? And Don, you can go first.
I am going to recommend the Fallout series. I'm not all the way through it yet. I'm about 4 episodes through, but
it's good.
I haven't played the game at all. You know, I'm not a Fallout player at all, but still enjoying it immensely. So, yeah.
All right.
I'm a huge Walton Goggins fan, so I'll second that. Great.
That's your recommendation as well? There?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It is crazy that man is becoming a sex symbol when he's on screen without a nose and like looking like...
Is it possible to look at? Yeah. He's a fantastic actor, though.
Oh,
All
yes. Absolutely.
All right, Chris, what did you learn this week, or what are your recommendations?
Learned nothing. My recommendation is this weekend I'm gonna be going to Columbus, Ohio. Unfortunately, I'm recommending something in Ohio. As an Indiana person, this pains me greatly. But the yeah, shake your head. The Billy Ireland Cartoon Museum and Library is in Columbus, Ohio. If you've never been there, it's amazing. I'm going this weekend because it's my birthday, so I'm going to treat myself. And I'm going to Nancy Fest, which is all about the cartoon Nancy, the comic strip. I think it's sold out, but if you ever get a chance to go to that museum, it's great. They've got like originals of everything you can imagine. Todd McFarlane Spider-Man pages. Complete run of Calvin and Hobbes are on loan there.
Ooh, that's
like
worth
old
it.
Winsor McCay strips from like 1900. I mean, everything. It's an amazing place. You can spend weeks in there as a comic book person. So check it out if you ever get the chance.
All right. John.
Okay. See, I usually recommend anime, and the English names of the anime are hilarious.
Yes.
And usually very long. Explaining this to Don and Chris. So the one I recommend today is As a Reincarnated Aristocrat, I'll use my appraisal skill to rise in the world. It is it is really good. It is not your overpowered fantasy. It's mostly about a kid whose only ability is to be able to tell how good other people are at their abilities. It's a lot. It's got a lot of heart to it, and not a lot of, like I'm the greatest at everything, and I can walk through this like I'm on God mode. None of that here. And I will also suggest that you play Fallout 4, which I consider to be the best of the Fallout games. It very open world. There's like, I don't know that anybody could ever finish it. They say there's over 200 or 300 hours of gameplay in there, but I don't think there's ever been a person who's literally gone to every place on the map. There's huge amounts of storyline. You can get mods that will allow you to do just about anything, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. And the show is really good too.
Okay, two things. With as many years as I've known you and that we've done this podcast, you just blew my mind because you recommended a video game. Like, I don't know what to do with that because you have never done that before.
Oh, sorry. Like, you know, I mean,
I can't process anymore. Like,
don't do Star Trek Online. It sucks.
Everything else that's going on in my life doesn't matter anymore because John just recommended a video game.
Why does that blow your mind? I play video games.
I know, but
Minecraft is my go-to.
Other than Minecraft, you have never mentioned video games on the show before.
Oh, geez.
In 11 years, which, by the way, I think we're at our 11th year anniversary, but...
Oh, wait.
Yeah. And also, with anime, how much do you have to really pull back to not feel like you're in God mode? Because...
Oh, you do? Like, a lot of anime is just, like, power fantasy.
Oh my God, it's so crazy.
So, but yeah.
What was the name of that one again?
As a reincarnated aristocrat, I'll use my appraisal skill to rise in the world.
That's like naming your book like all of chapter 1, like the whole chapter 1 just being on the cover of your book.
That's standard for anime. For
to say, Don, you've not watched anime and read
because
the
I also
English.
His whole bit with the whole I know I enjoy the names because they're like whole paragraphs. That's crazy. But I'm also noticing this one had to deal with reincarnation. Is that a big theme? Because isn't there a slime reincarnated?
Yeah, slime online
that is
reincarnated as a slime reincarnated as a sword, reincarnated as a vending machine.
Is this a cohesive universe? Or
no, it's not. Unfortunately, that would be awesome.
It.
Reincarnated as a vending machine, a lot better than you'd think. But reincarnated into another world with my smartphone, horrible. Reincarnated into another world with my smartphone abridged, the one shot, awesome.
Don, I used to like you.
Don, what'd you do? We gotta go.
Yeah,
Wait, John, didn't you play BG3? I don't even know what BG3 is.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh yeah.
I need to play that though. I heard that was great.
Paragon for life. Yes.
All right. What did I learn this week? I learned that John plays video games other than Minecraft. My mind is utterly blown. I consider you one of my best friends, and I'm like, wow, I'm just blown by you recommending Fallout.
You can tell I play video games by the fact that I'm still sane.
No, that
sometimes
doesn't
you just
add up.
need to leave this world for a while.
This is true. This is very true. Recommendations. What recommendations do I have? I recommend that you go to our go to our webpage, superheroespeak.com, where you can find the podcast every week. Links to all our social media at the top of the page. Comic reviews by both these gentlemen, Chris and Don. And let's see, what else? Oh, if you have not done so far, I also recommend that you click that subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you don't miss us when we go live here on Sunday nights, plus all our other great content we put out throughout the week. Also, please smash that like button because it really does help with the algorithm. And helps get the show out there. And if you like it, other people will like it too, right?
Sure.
That's what we tell ourselves. Also, I'm going to recommend that you go and see Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, because
I do want to see that.
That is what we will be talking about on the podcast next week.
Well,
because we did do Fury Road. Apparently, John doesn't remember. I guess he didn't go see it. I don't remember if we had someone fill in for John when that came out, but I know we talked about it on this podcast. So we will be doing the follow-up next week. So, as always, thanks for watching. Don't let your cape go out the door. Have a good week.